Tissue donation has the potential to help even more patients than organ donation. A single donor can help up to 60 people. Tissues such as eyes, corneas, skin, bone, tendons, and heart valves can all be donated to the benefit of others. As with organ donation, consent is required for each tissue donated. The donor pool for tissues is larger than for organ donors because it is possible to donate tissues for some time after death. As such, tissue donors are not dependent on the circumstances surrounding the donor's death. Donor suitability is independent of age for some tissues, so in actual fact, almost everyone can be considered for potential tissue donation. Consented donors have blood specimens taken at the time of tissue procurement to exclude infections such as syphilis, hepatitis, HIV, and prion disease. Tissues are tested and treated to allow them to be stored for long periods and can be transplanted into any recipient. Corneas can be stored for up to 30 days, donated heart valves for up to 10 years, all other tissues for a period of 5 years. In the United States, over 30,000 tissue donors annually provide for approximately 1.5 million tissue transplants. Despite the larger potential donor pool, tissues are not often donated in South Africa. I know I get squeamish when it comes to my eyes, but when you think that 2 corneal transplants can restore sight to 2 blind people, for me that puts my squeamishness in perspective. The cornea is the clear dome-shaped window covering in front of the eye. Damage from infection or trauma or simply degeneration can cause blindness. Operating under a microscope, an ophthalmologist can remove the diseased cornea and replace it with a donated one, sewing it in place with a nylon suture finer than a human hair. It is estimated that over 10 million people could benefit from corneal transplantation across the world. Donated skin can help the healing process of severe burn victims. In South Africa, as in most developing countries, skin is needed most commonly for severely burnt children and is always in short supply. Skin is the largest organ of the body and our first line of defense against microbial infections, as well as helping us to regulate fluids and body temperature. Donated skin helps protect recipients from infection while promoting regeneration of their own skin. When skin is donated, it is only removed from the posterior aspect of the donor in a superficial thin layer. The skin on the anterior aspect is left intact to preserve the appearance of the deceased. Heart valves can be utilized from donors where the heart was unable to be transplanted. These are processed for use in valve replacement operations. In adults, this is typically for valves destroyed by infections, such as rheumatic heart disease or age-related degeneration. Children born with congenital cardiac defects can also have function restored to a failing heart. Bone and connective tissues, such as tendons, ligaments, and cartilage, can help individuals with various orthopedic and neurological conditions. Bone grafts can fill a void created by trauma or cancer, replacing lost bone and stimulating new growth. As with organ donation, there are no costs to the family for being a tissue donor. Tissue procurement takes time, but the tissue bank works closely with funeral homes and mortuaries to ensure that the family's wishes with respect to the body are accommodated. All tissues are recovered by qualified personnel in compliance with strict protocols. Each tissue donor is treated with the utmost respect and dignity. Surgically clean techniques are used, and there are strict regulations in place for tissue and eye banks to be accredited. They are required to be non-profit organizations in accordance with the WHO guiding principles on organ and tissue donation, which state there should be no profits from organ and tissue donation. Donation of the whole body to science is also possible, and in South Africa is handled by university medical schools. Any scientific research on bodies or tissues after death requires a separate consent form to be signed. To recap, tissue donation can dramatically improve and even save the lives of many patients. Most people can be considered for tissue donation at the end of their life, independent of the circumstances of their death.